Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to McCants Ballpark, the home of the greatest four, I can't believe I'm saying this, the greatest, I did not write this, okay? The greatest four-man baseball team known to man, the Major League Interns. Now, first, before we go any further, take a moment right now to silence your phones. That's number one. Number two, students, please make sure you sign in. Adults, if you want to sign in, you can as well, but I can't promise extra credit, but it certainly won't hurt. The four individuals that you are about to hear from are going to explain and walk you through their internships with the Washington Wild Things and the Waynesburg University Sports Information Department. Your lineup: their power hitter, known for hitting not only fast balls to dead center, but also his diverse work done with Waynesburg's Sports Information Department, Darrion Allensworth. In the hole is a man who is a true leader on the team, and one who is not only great with writing a game recap and working the scoreboard, but doing both at the same time. Danny Dimes Rogers. The skipper for the team, presenting last, but not last in our hearts, a individual who has worn many hats, sometimes at the same time, working with the Wild Things, with a mustache that, I can't believe I'm saying this, is better than Chris Dugan's. His words, not mine. Ethan Spazarski. But our laid-off batter, ladies and gentlemen, known not only for throwing 104 on his day off, but also known for his masterful work with the mobile camera. He is the Wild Thing. Ladies and gentlemen, our leadoff hitter, Mr. Seth Adams. Play ball!
During my time here at Waynesburg, most of the stuff that I've done was with the sports broadcasting department. That's what I came here to do, sports broadcasting. Why? Because I enjoy sports and I enjoy people. However, I did something this semester that I didn't have nearly as much experience with, which was with the Waynesburg University Sports Department, Sports Information Department, which, I mean, if you guys come to any of the games, you've seen what we do. We work with the video board, the sound board, the scoreboard. We've done public address, and we record the stats as the game is happening. You've seen what we do. I mean, it's on the Waynesburg Athletics webpage, just to name a few things of what we've done. There you go. This is just some of the stuff that I'm going to go over during that stuff that I did during my presentation, during my internship. You know the guy, Bobby Fox, Sports Information Director. I was lucky that during my 4 years in Waynesburg, I already worked with him before, so I was very familiar with what he did. I also worked with Logan Hahn, who, if Bobby wasn't there, he basically was the Bobby Fox who ran things. Bobby would set me up with whatever games I needed, however as many games as I wanted. He was just awesome like that, always presenting me with new opportunities to keep working in the Sports Information Department. He also, whenever I got to games, would give me whatever I needed to do to get the job done. And as I said, Logan, if Bobby wasn't there, he helped me with whatever I needed, including taking a wheelchair up to the top of John F. Wiley Stadium. But more on that later. So these were the goals that I set for myself for the internship, which was work as many games as possible and consistency. 21 was the amount of games that I worked during the semester. Why did I want to work as many games as possible? Repetition, just doing as many games as I could so I could get good at it and improve game by game by game by game. I figured if I only did a few games, obviously that wouldn't reach the requirements I needed to pass class and I just wouldn't graduate, which that would suck. But in order to, I feel like to gauge yourself, you need as many reps as possible to see how you improve game by game. And then consistency. I wanted to be consistently good. I didn't want my lows to be too low or my highs to be too high. I wanted to just be consistently good, not only for myself, but also for the people who worked with me, who would know that whenever I showed up to a game, they would get consistently good work. Duties and responsibilities that I did. Table work. So table work was mainly for men's and women's soccer. I would work the table at the opposite end of John F. Wiley Stadium, and I would do substitutions for players checking in, and I would relay that information to the sports info people through a walkie-talkie. Some days when we were a little understaffed, I had to do a little more, such as let them know who shot a goal, let them know who scored, who got a foul, or who got a yellow or red card. Another thing that I did was a video board operator. That was at the top of John F. Wiley Stadium. I had a little cubby, and in that little room, I had a computer and a little iPad that controlled the sound and the music that was playing at the stadium, as well as on the computer, I would play graphics onto the video board. And another thing, and probably my favorite thing that I did, was public address. I would do public address at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse for women's volleyball, as well as a men's basketball. And I would just say what was happening and let the public know stuff and information such as fouls, shots, goals, who was winning, who was up in the match, etc. That is an example of some of the information I recorded working table at some of the soccer games. As you can see, this is information that you could find on the Waynesburg Athletic webpage. You have information for Waynesburg on the right, Grove City on the left, who scored a goal, who was subbing in, who got a foul, who got a yellow card. All that stuff is right on here, and that's the stuff that we did with the sports information department here at Waynesburg. These are more examples of what I did. So that was the desk and the table and the tent that I worked under for working table. The tent was helpful for whenever the weather was bad, just in case it rained. The second picture is just the information that I would record, such as the score sheet on the left side, the score and the game card, which the refs would have to sign, as well as the notebook and the walkie-talkie that I recorded and relayed the information from. And the third picture is at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse, where I would public address, where I would have a mic, a roster sheet, so I would know who's playing and be able to tell who's subbing in and who's not, as well as the script for what I would say, including the intros that I would do for the games that I public addressed, as well as information that I would use to remind myself to keep saying while I was public addressing. And then the last picture is at the top of John F. Wiley Stadium in my little cubby, where you have the computer on the right, the little pad that played the music, as well as the timeline that I used to know what was coming next, and also be able to talk to whoever was public addressing that day and work with them so that we were on the same page. So whenever the public address announcer announced something, that was exactly what would be on the video board. Skills that I used and worked with during my internship: communication, preparation, focus, analyzing and relaying information, and organization. I mean, obviously, those seemed like obvious skills that you would need as a communication major, but each one was extremely important to get your job done. You needed your communication to be clear and concise so that information that you relayed was correct and they would be able to understand it clearly. Preparation could be as simple as just wearing warm clothes to a cold game, and as little bit more complicated, such as being able to make yourself familiar with players that were probably going to play, so that you would know who was going in and the information needed to be able to relay to the sports info team. Focus. Sometimes it would be hard to focus when there was a million things happening at the same time. You needed to make sure you knew what you needed to relay up to the team and what stuff you didn't have to say. Analyzing and relaying information, that also went along with focus. Again, you just needed to understand what you were seeing and being able to convey it clearly into the walkie or whoever so that they could get the information into wherever they needed to get to. And then organization, which If you know me, I'm not the most organized person, so that was probably the hardest thing that it was for me. What I had to do was just make sure that I had the information and was able to organize it in a way that was easy for me to see it and then relay it into the walkie. This is just more examples of what I did. On the left side is the soccer information. It was just subs for Waynesburg right side, subs for Waynesburg on the left side. In the middle was a script that I would say for a public address, the intro, and again, reminders of what I would say while I was public addressing. And then the picture all the way on the side was the sheet, the notebook that I used to record all the fouls and basketball information that I was able to understand and be able to keep track of during the game. You can see if you can see it clearly, sorry, my handwriting's kind of chicken scratch, but I basically kept track of fouls, team fouls, personal fouls, and a little reminder at the top just to remind myself to go over things that I need to go over while I was public addressing. Challenges, catching everything. There would be moments during games where there would be so many things happening at once that I would have to relay all of it, such as, for example, for a soccer game, if there were 5 people subbing in, I would need to know who they were and what number they was subbing in, who was subbing out for them, as well as keep an eye on the field in case something happens, such as a foul, yellow card, goal, whatever. Weather, that probably was the least challenging of the 3, just because like if it was cold, obviously wear something warm. Probably the hardest part about the weather was if it was raining or super windy, I had to make sure to keep track of all my papers so they wouldn't go flying everywhere, or if the rain didn't ruin the papers or ruin the stuff that I was recording information on. And then a lot of stairs. In case you couldn't tell, I don't do very well with stairs. And at John F. Wiley Stadium, there's a lot of them. The Wiley Walk. Not a fun thing to do, especially when you're in a wheelchair. So I had to have someone help me get up the stairs. Now, I didn't let anyone carry me. My pride would take too much of a blow. However, I did a wheelbarrow, which is I would walk up the stairs on my arms while someone carried up my legs. Actually, I'd have to thank Ryan Martin and Josh Klingen, who helped me with that, as well as Logan Hahn. And then on the left side, hey Stone. On the left side is when it was raining and it was wet, and papers were threatened to be ruined, but we were able to keep it dry under the tent. Don't do what I did. So leading up to this, leading up to this class, I only had one plan and one idea with what I wanted to do for my internship. Unfortunately, that fell through. And then my internship with the sports information department was basically my last chance, my saving grace to be able to graduate. Don't do that. Make sure that you have plans and that you have a preparation to be able to, in case things don't go your way, you have a backup plan. Because you don't just want to basically be cornered. You don't want to corner yourself where you only have one route to take, especially when it comes to your future. That being said, I had a great time working with the sports information department. I feel like I used and learned a lot of skills that I wasn't as familiar with while I was here at Waynesburg for sports broadcasting. And I think being able to take those skills and take the things that I learned this semester with the internship, I was able to take that and be able to apply, and we'll be able to apply to whatever my future plans will be for the future. Any questions? All right.
So being with sports broadcast for so many years, how'd you kind of adapt into sports info? Was it kind of easy because you've seen us do the work a little bit, but you never actually worked it, or?
So whenever I was doing sports broadcasting, I worked some of the sports info side a little bit. I think when it comes into the terms of going from sports broadcasting to sports info, I was able to basically use the knowledge that I had to prepare for sports broadcasting and the skills that I learned for sports broadcasting and apply it to sports information with things like being able to analyze and and see what's happening and being able to relay it like as if I was broadcasting just to the sports information team.